This is a story from a long, long time ago. Far from the hustle and bustle of the city, in a quiet and poor village, lived a man named Nasir. He was a simple farmer. Every morning, as the sun began to rise, he would head out to his fields, and by sunset, he would return home, tired but content. His life was built on simplicity and hard work. Whatever he earned, he spent on his own needs, and anything left over, he used to help others in the village. Because of this, he was known as a kind-hearted and generous soul. But the greatest trial of Nasir's life wasn't found in his fields or in the village. It was hiding right inside his own home. His wife appeared to be everything a man could wish for: loyal, loving, and well-mannered. On the surface, she was the perfect spouse. But underneath that facade, her heart was filled with something entirely different. Nasir, being a simple and trusting man, never once suspected her true nature. After all, she never gave him a reason to doubt her. Every morning, she would have his breakfast ready on time, cook him delicious meals, and send him off to work with a sweet smile and a warm farewell. Yet, behind this loving act, a deep and burning hatred was growing. In her heart, there was no love or respect for Nasir. All day long, her mind was consumed with thoughts of how much better her life could have been. She dreamt of being married to a rich, famous man, not a simple farmer. While Nasir toiled under the sun, she spent her days plotting, thinking of ways to get rid of him. Her deception was so perfect, so complete, that every word and every gesture convinced Nasir that he had the best wife in the world. He was completely under her spell and refused to listen to a single bad word spoken against her. Over time, her greed and her dark thoughts pushed her further and further down a corrupt path. The woman who was supposed to build a home with love and loyalty was now secretly planning its destruction. It is often said that a woman can turn a house into a paradise, but if she chooses, she can also turn that same house into a living hell. One day, after Nasir had left for the fields, as usual, his wife came up with a strange and cruel plan. She secretly called a few troublemakers from the neighborhood. She told them to steal Nasir's donkey and, in a bizarre twist, tie it high up in a nearby tree. Confused but willing, they did exactly as she asked. Around noon, she packed a lunch and took it to the fields, just as she did every day. Nasir greeted her with his usual kindness, but she could see a look of deep worrying on his face. She put on a gentle voice and asked, "You look troubled today, my dear. Is everything all right?" Nasir just looked up towards the sky and sighed. "My dear, just look at that," he said, pointing. "My donkey is tied up in a tree. I've been thinking about it all morning. How is this even possible? Donkeys don't fly." She pretended to be just as shocked as he was. With a calm expression, she said, "That is very strange indeed. Come, let's bring it down together." After a great deal of effort, they finally managed to get the poor donkey down from the tree. As she was about to leave, she turned to Nasir and asked him for some money. Filled with love and trust for his seemingly devoted wife, he didn't hesitate. He gave her everything he had on him, which was 5 dinars. But her greed had no limits. She looked at the coins and said, "This is too little. I need more." When Nasir asked how much more she needed, she replied without batting an eye, 100 dinars. It was a huge amount for a simple farmer, but Nasir promised he would give it to her as soon as he sold his wheat harvest. And when he finally received the money from the sale, he kept his promise, giving her the full amount without asking a single question. The woman secretly took half of that money and hid it away, saving it for a purpose that had nothing to do with love or loyalty. Time passed, and her intentions grew even darker. One morning, as Nasir was getting ready to head to the fields, she suddenly demanded 200 dinars. Nasir was shocked. He gently asked what she could possibly need such a large amount of money for. She immediately put on a mask of concern and told him that her sister was seriously ill and desperately needed money for medicine. Nasir, being the compassionate and trusting husband he was, agreed without a second thought. Later that day, As his wife was preparing his lunch, she secretly took 3 large fish with her. On her way to the fields, she stopped and quietly buried them in the loose soil where Nasir was working. After serving him his meal, she went back, knowing her trap was set. A little while later, as Nasir was tilling the earth, his tool suddenly struck something. He dug it out and was amazed to find a fish. Then he found another, and another. He called out to his wife in complete astonishment. She rushed over, her face a perfect picture of shock and joy. "It's a miracle," she cried, praising God for this unbelievable event. Then she quickly took the fish and, in the same breath, reminded him about the 200 dinars for her sick sister. Nasir, still reeling from the miracle, sold even his donkey to arrange the money and gave it all to her. That evening, the atmosphere at home was cold and silent. His wife was distant, barely speaking to him. In the days that followed, her behavior grew worse. She stopped caring for him, stopped cooking his meals, and treated him with complete indifference. After many days of this cold shoulder, Nasir finally gathered the courage to gently ask her what was wrong. She looked at him, her eyes cold, and finally said bluntly, "If you truly want me to be happy, then divorce me." Those words hit Nasir like a physical blow. He was crushed. Still, he tried to be patient, enduring her coldness and her insults day after day. But eventually, her cruelty spilled out into the open. She began to humiliate him publicly, mocking his poverty and constantly comparing him to other, better men in the village. One day, her taunts became too much, and in a moment of pure frustration and anger, Nasir raised his hand. That was all she needed. She let out a piercing scream, accusing him of being abusive. Neighbors came running, and seeing her tears and hearing her cries, they immediately believed her story. In an instant, Nasir's reputation and honor were shattered. The matter eventually reached the court of the Qazi, the local judge. Nasir stood before the judge and narrated everything that had happened, telling his story with complete honesty. But when it was her turn to speak, she put on a masterful performance. She cried, she wailed, and she accused Nasir of threatening her life. Seeing that the marriage was broken beyond repair, Nasir agreed to a divorce, but on one condition: she must return all the money he had given her. She just laughed in his face, mocking him. "A poor farmer like you could never have that much money," she sneered. When Nasir tried to explain the bizarre incidents of the flying donkey and the fish from the field, she just laughed louder, telling the Qazi that her husband was clearly insane. With no proof to support Nasir's incredible stories, the Qazi had no choice but to grant the divorce, leaving Nasir with nothing. A few months later, the woman got what she thought she wanted. She married a worthless young man she had been secretly involved with. But soon after the wedding, her new husband began abusing her and constantly demanding money. When all the money she had saved from deceiving Nasir was gone, he divorced her without a second thought. Nasir, on the other hand, remained patient through his trials. In time, he married a noble and righteous woman from the village. His life began to change. Allah blessed him with children, with honor in his community, and with a peace he had never known before. Meanwhile, the woman who once despised him for his poverty was left alone and destitute, forced to depend on the charity of others, her reputation completely ruined. Time had passed, and the truth of what she had done eventually came to light. But for her, regret came far too late. This story teaches us some powerful lessons. Whether you are a husband or a wife, the foundation of a peaceful life is built on patience and gratitude for what you have been given. Things like wealth, beauty, and status are all temporary. True success, true happiness, lies in a person's character, their loyalty, and their contentment with what they have.